Welcome back. President Trump posting on Twitter last week following the riot on the Capitol. Shortly after, Twitter suspended his account permanently, citing the possibility that it would be used in the final days of his presidency to incite violence.
And Twitter isn't the only tech giant to ban the president. Facebook and Instagram have barred him from posting, and Snapchat and Twitch have locked his accounts indefinitely. Now the big tech ban is raising questions about free speech and tech's role in controlling content. Joining us now with more, Shelly Palmer, tech consultant and host of the Strategy Hacker livestream. Shelly, always good talking to you. Please break this down for us, because I know a lot of people are getting upset saying censorship or a violation of the First Amendment. So just explain this to us and how this works.
Well, first of all, it can't be violation of the First Amendment. In fact, it's exactly backwards, because the First Amendment says that Congress or the government cannot pass a law that prevents you from thinking something, saying something, or doing something. You're free to do and say what you like within the things that are legal. There are restrictions, child pornography, you can't false advertise. There's a bunch of things that are just not allowed under the First Amendment, but this has nothing to do with the First Amendment, because ultimately, Twitter's not the government. Facebook isn't the government. These are all private companies. In fact, it's exactly opposite. The government can't tell them what to do or say, or who can do and say what. What is happening here is not censorship either. There's a clear violation of terms and conditions that are well stated. And I think what's happened and why people are upset is no one knows why now. Now, truthfully, no one's seen anyone storm the Capitol or an insurrection like this since 1814, so there's probably historical precedent to say this was extraordinary. But big tech has been giving an awful lot of leeway to elected officials for a long time. The lines have been crossed, and they made a business decision. They just said, no, this is not going to happen now. It is not that the policies weren't stated. The policies have been stated. If you're upset about anything, you should be upset about why did they choose this exact moment to fully enforce?
Right.
And I think that's a valid question, and big tech needs to answer it. But I don't think you can call this anything other than violation of terms and conditions. And then you have to ask another question, and this is important too. Is big tech too powerful? And
right.
If it is, how did it get that way?
Right. So, Shelly, I wonder, you mentioned Twitter is not the government, but in many ways they now are flexing and have more power than a lot of government, local elected officials. I wonder, where's the line? Is that the next step? You know, drawing the line in power of big tech?
No, that's an important question, but I don't know that they're more powerful. We have single-threaded ourselves through social media. We've single-threaded ourselves through the cloud services that we use when we store the tools that run our businesses. With very big companies, there are alternatives. People don't tend to use them. And so once we have empowered a system and we've gathered together, I think Facebook is willing to be regulated. Mark Zuckerberg has said that a lot of times. Tell us what, give us real, followable, transparent regulations. We have a new administration now, when the Congress should pass the appropriate laws and regulations. The law, Section 230, that says that these are platforms, not publishers, was written 25 years ago. It's out of date.
Sure.
Facebook didn't exist. The world is different now. We need laws that have caught up with our technology, and I think we should insist on them because we need them.
Right. And Shelly, just as a follow-up, I mean, there's obviously a difference between Twitter banning a user versus what happened with Parler, right? Amazon knocking Parler off, Google knocking Parler off. Is that any violation of First Amendment rights? And is that taking...
The First Amendment, again, doesn't apply because these are private companies. But more importantly, those terms and conditions are well stated. And these organizations said you cannot use our platforms to incite violence. This is clearly what they felt is happening. And Apple, Google, and Amazon just said, okay, you're in violation of your terms of service, and we're just shutting you off. And that's a fight that Parler can take to court, and that's their redress. That's why we have courts. But this is a contract dispute. It has nothing to do with freedom of speech and nothing to do with censorship. These companies are well within their rights to decide who they want to do business with. By the way, everyone's within their rights to decide who they do business with.
All right. Shelly Palmer, thank you so much for joining us. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, Shelly.